As I was prepping for dinner last night, I wondered what I could create with the leftover scraps. And instead of throwing them away, I kept them. And I even went to the grocery store and embarrassed myself. We'll tell you all about it in a minute. But first, I gathered my gel plate, some acrylic paint, and my brayer to start printing. First, I started with vegetables. I want to use the ones that might print or look like flowers. So I take the core of the peppers and celery heart. I apply acrylic paint to my gel plate and roll a thin layer of paint. Then I press the large pepper core on the orange paint and press the small pepper heads on the yellow paint to create a flower pattern. It probably would have been amazing to use an actual slice of pepper to create a larger flower pattern. But I really don't want to use anything that can be eaten because there's so many people starving in the world and I don't want to feel like I'm wasting food. Then I press my white paper onto the gel plate and pull. And the flower pattern is amazing. But I wish I would have added a solid color first underneath. So I try it again and roll yellow paint onto the background. Pull the print and set it aside. Then I roll a purple color and using the end of the celery stalk create marks on the paint, which to me look like roses. And it gives me the idea that I can even use the celery to stamp on the first paper and create some roses there as well. And you will soon see in another experiment how I create a very unique landscape with this stamping technique. Then I place the yellow paper on top and press. When I pull, I get a rose pattern on my background, and I'm so mesmerized by the patterns that I want to try some more. So I actually take part of last night's dinner and use the stalks that were left after making roasted cauliflower. Then, after rolling some orange onto a plain background to create contrast, I roll some purple and press the cauliflower onto the paint. I use different sides to see what patterns they will create. I'm sure the actual cauliflower would look amazing here, but I don't actually want to waste it as well. Then I press my orange paper and pull. And wow, it looks just like a bouquet of flowers. Next thing is trying the lemon. I love citrus patterns as they remind me of summer cocktails at the beach. I had squeezed the juice out of my lemons to use in my homemade guacamole last night too. And so the leftovers were perfect to create these juicy patterns. I even used the shells of my favorite fruit, passion fruit. It's definitely odd looking on the inside, but for me, it brings back memories from my childhood growing up in Venezuela. The circular patterns, especially the citrus patterns, come out amazing, and it gives me the next idea, which has a funny story behind it. Once I decided to monoprint with fruits and veggies, I decided to go straight to the grocery store to see what other produce could make cool patterns. That's when I saw the cored pineapples, and I just knew. So I approached one of the grocers and said, "This might be a strange request, but do you happen to have the top of the pineapples in the back? I need just the top, not the pineapple itself." He looked at me strangely and paused. I was so embarrassed, but the things I do for my videos, I said, "I need it for a project." "Oh, okay," he said. "I can go to the back and cut one for you." And he actually did. And so I'm so excited to try this pattern here. I press the leaves down firmly as it might create a larger flower pattern. Then I pull the print and it looks amazing. Finding produce to monoprint that doesn't waste food can be tricky, but the next one was really cool. I cut the leafy part of the carrots as they usually get discarded and placed it on my wet gel plate. We used to have a bunny and he would get all the leafy greens, but now I can make art with them. I remove the leafy stems and line up the same page back on top. When I pull it, it looks so cool, just like celery stalks. This gives me the coolest idea yet, to create a scenery. So I apply the leafy stalks again at the bottom of my page and press well to make sure I remove all the paint around them, as it helps you get a crispier image. Then I take the peppers I used at the beginning and using a separate gel plate on which I rolled purple paint, I stamped the flower pattern onto my main gel plate. Right above the stalks, I used both the large and small peppercorns to create different sized flowers in both purple and orange. Then, when the paint is dry to the touch, I brayer some yellow across the plate and pull the print. And I just love my flower garden. And I'm so impressed to be able to create art out of something that literally gets discarded, like matcha in this video right here, that I almost threw away, but instead it created the most amazing patterns.